This is engaging gameplay, though, like. It's just so stupid.
Actual Demon Hunter.
Actual Sotty.
Just
Sotty
inching
doing
everywhere.
this. Just Sotty doing this off. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the Havoc Demon Hunter coming into Shadowlands. Now, I'm a little wary. I've been playing a lot of Demon Hunter the last 24 hours, as many, many thousands of you are aware, because I've been doing Torghast on a Demon Hunter. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so good. But that's not what I'm going to base this quick look on. I'm going to base this on what the base Havoc Demon Hunter is like and what you're going to be working with throughout the rest of the world outside Torghast. But I will mention Torghast towards the end. How does it feel to play? It feels fine, but it feels a bit like a car that's running out of fuel. Now, not many of you may have ever been in the position where you're in a car that's running out of fuel, but it kind of gets this spurt of fuel that's left in the tank, and it runs kind of smoothly for a second, and then it just kind of chugs while it's trying to breathe, really. It's like it's gasping for air, and then it gets going again as it finds another piece, a little sliver of fuel to keep it going. Basically, I'm talking about resources. It does seem to run dry more regularly, and I do feel like Blizzard has kind of maybe lost the way on what they envisioned with Havoc. When Havoc came in Legion, the vision was super, super clear. It was an absurd, over-the-top, flashy spec that was also ultra simple. So the fact that it hasn't particularly changed much in terms of gameplay, no massive new titles, no overhaul, and they seem to be looking for a way, and they're doing this in Shadowlands a lot, is looking for ways to increase the skill cap for players, because gear is going to be less and less relevant in Shadowlands. We've seen that already. How do you increase the skill of something that's still a relatively new class to the game? They don't have much in the way of doing that. So what they've looked at, I think, is more resource management. They've altered the resource values, they've moved some talents around, but all it's kind of done is give it these spurt-stop feels to it, where you're just like, and then you suddenly end up with like I-Beam on cooldown for 3 global cooldowns, and you're like, this is a little annoying and frustrating, and it kind of falls off because everything pretty much remains the same. There's a new talent called Essence Break. I didn't like this at all. A 20-second cooldown, you slash all enemies in front of you for 455 chaos damage, and increase the damage of Chaos Strike and Blade Dance that you deal to them by 40% for 8 seconds. It felt like a more annoying... It's a 20-second cooldown, so you need it up like 50% of the time, and it just felt like pointless. It felt just like a button for the sake of having a button. For doing what I ordinarily do. I didn't find it fun. I didn't think it was an interesting... I don't think it's interesting. I don't think having like a 50% uptime debuff is particularly interesting myself. And I kind of moved away from it as close as I could and just... I would prefer other things. I prefer First Blood, and likelihood is that First Blood is just better anyway. So it's one of those things that they've thrown in there that's not particularly creative, but I honestly, genuinely feel like Blizzard doesn't want to get too creative with this, because it's targeted at people who want to turn into a giant fucking demon and slash things up and turn into a laser beam. So that's what it's about. I don't think the resource management is a good idea. I don't think the resource staggering and trying to min-max that is a good way to go with it. And I would definitely probably urge Blizzard not to go down that road, because we're at a point where, honestly, a lot of the other classes, warriors, DKs, I'm talking about melee here, ret paladins, etc., windwalkers, just play better from the get-go. They just play smoother. They play nicer. They're more fluid from the get-go than a Demon Hunter is. And I don't think that's the way you want to go with it, personally. What I will also add on to the back here is their Bastion ability is very fire and forget. The Elysian Decree. It's got a wonderful name. It's basically a bomb that you throw on the floor. It does give you 3 lesser soul fragments to try and offset the resource stuff. So maybe all of the ideas that Blizzard has with altering the resources from the base spec are because they're tying resources later down the line, but until we have all 4 of them, we can't confirm that. I will say that for other classes, though, that isn't the case. That's why I'm bringing it up to you here instead of saying, well, I can't talk about it until later on. Well, that's why I'm waiting on it. Talk about Torghast for a second. Demon Hunters are one of the absolute most fun specs you can play in Torghast. They are incredible fun. I'm going to have a deeper look at Torghast, but I honestly do think as we go further down Shadowlands, it's worth us taking a look at who has the most fun in Shadowlands from what inside Torghast, from what we can see. Because I kind of think and suspect, and maybe you guys can give me some feedback on this, some people will be choosing what class they want to play in Shadowlands based on how much fun they're going to have inside Torghast. So we'll see on that. But no, for now, Demon Hunters are so good in there.